Hi, everyone, and welcome back to People Do Want to Know podcast. Perfectly timed with the Valentine's Day holiday. My guest today is Adam Cohen-Aslatei. Adam is the CEO of a very famous matchmaking company, 3-Day Rule. He is also the founder of S'more, the world's first anti-superficial dating app, which he successfully grew and sold to Talkify, a leading matchmaking service in 2023. With over 17 years of experience in the dating and mobile industries, Adam has held leadership roles at prominent companies including the Meet Group, Zoosk, Talkify, and Bumble. Originally from Canada, Adam now splits time between Newport Beach and New York City, where he resides with his partner. His expertise has earned him appearances on TV shows and coverage in major media outlets such as the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, the Washington Post, NBC, CBS, and ABC. As a high-growth marketer in dating app product development, Adam previously served as managing director of Chappie, Bumble's gay dating app, which was acquired by Blackstone in 2019. And over the past 5 years, he has been recognized as a leader executive in the dating industry and frequently consults companies like FAM, Meetup, Blabber, Friended, Raya, Solo Funds, and the Lunge app. Oh my gosh, there are like dating apps listed on here that I've never heard of, like Lunge, the Lunge. What? Okay. Anyway, I am so honored that Adam wanted to come speak to me over here at People Do Want to Know. I'm just fangirling so hard because as someone who is a product manager by trade, what Adam has been able to build is absolutely incredible. He's really a visionary in the dating space, so we're in the midst of an icon here, people. In this episode, you'll learn about his extensive career, what he makes of modern dating today, and the cool AI developments on the horizon in matchmaking. I'm actually hoping to test out their new 3-Day Rule AI app. I really believe in it personally. To be honest, though, I believe in anything that is going to save me time, so why not try it? And even though Adam is pioneering the next new thing in dating, what I want to underscore is how the fundamental values or things you have to do to be successful in dating are really timeless principles. Patience, open-mindedness, empathy, those are really the things that we have to embody as modern daters to find the right match, whether it's through AI or otherwise. Apps and AI are just mechanisms. How we show up is really the most important part. A few years ago, I would have said that I don't really want to date anyone shorter than 5'10". And this year, I can tell you that I went on plenty of dates with men who were not 5'10", and even one guy who was shorter than me. It really didn't end up mattering. Whether they were 5'9" versus 5'10", that was not really the thing about them that made or broke the connection. With that said, there is one thing that we talked about in the episode that I kind of have to wrestle with, and I'd be curious what your take is. I really have internalized that you don't date potential. I don't think it's fair to expect people to change or date them on the condition that they'll change. The person I see in front of me in that moment is the person I'm considering. So if they're a starving artist today, I assume they will be a starving artist forever, and I have to love them for that. In the episode, you'll hear Adam challenge me on this indirectly, that when you choose someone, it's for both the good times and the bad. And I do wholeheartedly agree with that. I just don't really know where the line is drawn. That's why it's very important to me that when I say what I'm looking for, I use the word ambitious. I don't use the words lawyer, doctor, or rich, because those are shallow and closed-minded and not a good indicator of someone's character at all. So I use the word ambitious. So maybe what I mean when I say I don't date potential is I won't date someone who has the potential to be ambitious. They have to be ambitious today, regardless what they do for work. That part's not so important to me. And I think being clear on this kind of language is crucial. And being very clear on what's a nice to have versus a must have is, of course, the most important of all. I know our Jewish community at this time is kind of skeptical of matchmaking. Let's face it, we've all been burned one too many times. May this episode ignite some kind of spark of positivity or optimism in you, because I know it did in me. And please enjoy this episode. Hi, Adam. Welcome to People Do Want to Know podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to chat with you about the iconic company 3-Day Rule that I've personally been acquainted with since 2018. And now I get to meet, the man behind this business that I believe so deeply in. I really think matchmaking and human connection is integral to our world today that feels so out of touch despite no shortage of options. So I'm really grateful for the conversation. Please tell us about yourself. What do you do and how did you get there?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Montreal, Canada, born and raised in Montreal. And I went to Harvard for grad school, and that's where I got a taste of the dating and relationship space. I was 22 and looking for friends, and I couldn't find the friends that I wanted to make. And so I built a website that allowed people to connect with one another over common interests. And then we hosted these speed dating or speed meeting events. And so that's where it all started in 2007. And then from there, I spent my career working for a lot of the large dating companies, dating app companies. I started my own. Built it to about 500,000 users, sold it to a matchmaking company, didn't know really much about matchmaking, really understood more of the online dating space. And when I crossed over to the other side, the better side, I think, in many ways, I just fell in love with how personalized it is, but also, matchmaking really does work. And I think so many younger people, it's not even an option for them. They don't understand what it is. They don't really understand the formula and how successful it can be. And it's also revealing of your intimate life details, which is uncomfortable for so many people. So in many instances, it's easier to use a dating app, but not as effective. And so I've had the opportunity to work both on the dating app side, but also on the matchmaking side, and then go back onto the app side and release the first AI powered matchmaking app to make this concept of matchmaking democratized, meaning available to anyone across any price point, not only the millionaires and the billionaires.
That's super interesting. I already have a lot of questions coming to me right as we speak. I do want to go on a little tangent first to kind of inquire, what was your Jewish upbringing like? You're a Cohen.
Yes, I am a Cohen. On my father's side, they are from Romania and they were Holocaust survivors, and they came to Montreal right after the Holocaust. So my family ended up in Romania. They fled to Israel and were in camps in Israel before Israel became Israel, and then stayed there for 5 years. My father was not born yet. Actually, he was born in a camp in Israel, in a refugee camp in Israel, and they stayed there for 5 years. And then the whole family came over to Montreal. On my mother's side, her father is Russian/Ukrainian. So he was born in Kiev, but was part of the USSR. And and he came over with his brothers before the war. And he also came to Montreal, not as well educated, not educated at all. Actually, he went to grade 2, I think, is all of his education, came to Canada, came to Montreal. My grandparents met on that side of the family. And my mother and father met in high school. And the rest is history. My family on my mother's side, during World War II, they adopted 2 children that to get them out of harm's way in Europe. So they grew up with 4 siblings plus 2 foster children, which was kind of really cool to bring that into the fold. And then my family's been very involved in Jewish education, religious life in Montreal for so many years, and now also in Los Angeles, California. My family founded one of the largest Jewish Orthodox high schools in LA. So for those of your listeners who know LA, Shell Hevet School is founded by my family. And also Jewish museums, children's museums, also in the Los Angeles area. So we're very much about building Jewish community across Canada as well as North America. I spent about 10 years in New York. I'm gay. I'm married. My husband, we met in LA. He's a New York garmento. And now we live between Newport Beach and New York City.
Oh, Newport Beach. I did not see that coming. That's awesome. So you have seen millions of permutations of dates and relationships and marriages. Do you think there's something different about Jewish dating and relationships than there is about non-Jewish dating and relationships?
I think, we think it's different because we are Jewish. And I think, I grew up hearing from my parents, that you're going to marry a woman. Well, that didn't happen. But also that you have to marry a Jewish person, not only because of the cultural heritage and to have children that also can be Jewish in the future or that are going to be Jewish, but also it's the history of our people. I mean, it's so easy to just marry anyone, but the reason why our culture and our religion and our people still exist is because we married Jewish people. And I think that for so many generations, we're losing generations. So I think keeping your faith, keeping Jewish culture alive is something that's very important to me. There's different ways of doing that, of course, and people can convert into Judaism if they love their religion, they love the culture. But it's something that was always ingrained into me to maintain the culture, to respect other people's cultures and be friends with whomever. But really, when you think about having a family, keeping it within your religion, within your community. But now, on the professional side of things, I thought it was unique in my Jewish experience, but if you're Greek, that's a Greek thing. If you're African American, it's an African American thing. If you're an Asian American in the US, same thing. So, a lot of cultures, not just the Jewish culture, we want to maintain our culture. We want to understand those same core values. There's some commonality that allows you to connect better with people and a history that you know. And I think that's one of the things about Judaism is it's a history, it's an understanding, it's a religion, it's a people, it's a culture, it's so rich. And so when you meet someone that's just of that group of people, you end up connecting more and on a deeper level. So it's not just unique to Judaism. It happens in so many different cultures. I understand it better now that I'm older and have seen it happen across religions and across cultures. And it's something that's very special and very cool. And I'm, proud to be a part of it.
I do think your perspective on dating and relationships is like the most important perspective young people can hear, because we're all engaging, we're all touching these products, but we never see the effect of them on a macro scale. And so, like, let's go drill in. For example, I'm a single Jewish woman in New York. My sense is that the ratio of Jewish women to men in New York City is 2 women for every man. And so through experience, I have this belief that in a market where you have 2 Jewish women for every man, the man does not have to try very hard to find somebody. And so if you're the type of woman that has, for example, high standards or, doesn't like something, the man doesn't have to make many concessions because he can say, well, this is my market, right? If the supply and demand's off, I can just go find somebody else that can meet those needs and doesn't require any concessions of me. And of course, this is not like rooted in some truth or stats, but it is like this kind of feeling that I sense from a lot of Jewish women in the New York community. And dating apps as a product in particular, they're very vulnerable to adverse selection, where the best people suited for relationships never actually enter the market or the product because they've already been, quote unquote, taken off the market. And at some point, it feels like almost like luck is required to meet your person, or maybe it's a numbers game, a probability game, especially given the ratio that I mentioned. What do you make of dating from your vantage point, and how do you think we can deal with this adverse selection phenomena?
So to me, after having spent 20 years in this space and our company matches more people in a lifetime than the most famous matchmaker who had a TV show on Bravo for 10 years. I mean, we just do this at such a large scale. The reality is that dating is a skill. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear that when they come to a matchmaker or when we have these conversations. It's always about, just tell me how to meet someone. Tell me, that you'll find me the right person. Dating is a skill, like reading is a skill, like riding a bike is a skill, driving a car is a skill, and you take courses to be good at that thing, and then you do it really well. Well, I have to tell you, there's no high school class for how to date well and how to be successful in relationships, and there's not that in college either. So we learn by trial and error. We learn from watching our families, and we learn from watching what we see on TV and in movies. And oftentimes, those are really pretty horrible examples. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so we don't actually develop the understanding of how to be successful in a relationship. What does active listening, for example, what does that really mean when you're listening to a person, when you're engaging in their story? And so what we do on the matchmaking front is not only can we introduce you to amazing people, but we also want to teach you the skill of dating. And I think that in many cases, dating apps have made people feel like it's not a skill. Everyone has the skill, and we'll just go on as many dates as possible because there's plenty of fish in the sea. There's literally an app called Plenty of Fish. And we have been treating people like they are material objects for over 13 years, I would argue, since the release of Tinder. And so, yes, it's amazing that we have millions of singles at our fingertips. But when we start treating people as less than, as not human, what does it say about who we are and how we think about humanity? And I think that in many ways, dating apps crushed relationships. They ruined the romantic novelty of what dating and relationships should be. And we use people for whether it's for sex, it's a fun date, it's arm candy, whatever it is. And we end up feeling bad about ourselves. We end up without these dating skills. We end up depressed. We end up in, such horrible situations. For most of us, dating apps have a 9% success rate, which means 9% of people find everlasting love on a dating app. But, a matchmaker generates success between 70 and 80% of the time. And we teach you skills, and we set you up on amazing dates, and we care about the longevity of your relationships. So I think that, dating apps in some ways have been, a great experiment, a great social experiment, because it was able to allow us to interact with so many people. But it also allowed us to create these facades, to create these pseudo personalities of maybe who we want to be. If you're a very timid person or maybe introverted in the real world, now all of a sudden you are on an app. You can be whoever you want. You can say whoever you want about yourself. You can talk about other people in however you want. You can use pictures that aren't yours and old photos and doctored photos and be a catfish. And all that's happened to all of us. And now it's been 13 years and we're all still single. 98% of us from these apps are single, 99, so many of us are single and has not worked. And so for me, I've always really cared about people and real connection. And I always really thought that dating apps can help to solve that. And it brings so many people together and has the potential of goodness and has the potential. But I think the way that so many of these apps are designed, they feel very transactional. We don't get to know who a person is. Their profile is 80% of a face and very little deep information about them. If you like tacos and long walks on the beach, does that mean you're compatible? No, but these dating apps seem to tell you that you are, and they keep showing you people that like long walks on the beach and tacos, but who cares? And so I think that now that it's been 13 years and millennials have been through it, other generations too, but really millennials, Gen Zers aren't really gravitating to dating apps the way other generations were. And now we're at a pinnacle moment in the dating app world where technology, dating, and AI is coming to a head. And I think what's going to happen is that matchmaking is going to be modernized for a totally new generation, which is not your mother or your grandmother's matchmaker from your village or your pastor from your church. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a much more advanced way of meeting someone new, which utilizes technology and allows everyone to experience matchmaking at a price that most people can afford. And that's what's really exciting about what's coming.
Here's what I want as a dater, as a consumer of such a product. I want to submit an extensive questionnaire that tells somebody or something about who I am and what I believe I'm looking for. I'm happy to provide, videos of me answering questions so they can see my tone, they can see how I speak, my demeanors. I'm happy to provide all of my social media information as much as I can. And from there, I want somebody every week to send me a report that says, here are the top 5 or 10 men that we've come across that might be a good fit for you. This is why we think this is the case. Are there any of them that you want to go on a date? And I could say yes. And I have to say why. Yes, because. And if I say no, I have to say why, so that the algorithm can learn, what am I drawn to? What am I pushing away? And if the algorithm is good enough, they could say, well, you said no because of XYZ, but XYZ was never actually a requested criteria. And we'd argue that, maybe it's not so important. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? Something like that. And what I don't want to be doing is doing all that sifting myself, and then also being the secretary of my own dates, which is, hey, how are you? How's it going? The small talk, whatever. I want to leave that to the in-person kind of spontaneous meet cute interaction. The only thing you can't really control for, the only variable in this scenario is there just that kind of charismatic spark?
you will have to go and find that out. You can do that via a phone call. You can do that a FaceTime. It can be a lower lift. You don't have to go and meet somebody in person, then dress up and whatever. That is always the human component that cannot be optimized, I believe. Is there that little kind of like pull towards the person? But even all of what I just described to you would make dating to me feel a lot less dreadful. Am I crazy? Like, is this a bad idea? Or is this what you're kind of working on for singles?
So you just described matchmaking. And let me just give your listeners a lay of the land, because and viewers, in case you guys out there have not used a matchmaker, here's the difference between a dating app and a matchmaking app or a matchmaker. So a dating app is like the wild, wild west. You get to tell the world who you think you are. You get to come across and be who you want to be. So that could be good, that could be bad, that could be neutral. That's up to you. But then you get to self-select who you think is a good match for you based on what other people say about them. Now, you already know that no one's verifying any of this information. So all the stuff that you say about yourself, which hopefully is true, hopefully the people that you come across on these dating apps also are saying true things about who they are and giving you the full picture. The reality is that 80% of people lie, actually just full-on lie in their profile with photos, who they say who they are, and also in conversations with people, 80%. Now, not to say that they are, sometimes good people say embellish things and you might be okay with that and I might be okay with that. So, but there's degrees, there's a range. So that's the dating app and that's the wild, wild west. And I think it can be really fun for casual encounters. I think from a hookup culture standpoint, it worked really well. You got to meet people, it used geolocation, and all those things were taken care of. Now, if you're looking for real compatibility, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to do it for you. And literally the stat is 9% success rate on dating apps. So I'm telling you, it works for 10% of people. If you do it enough, if you go on enough dates with enough people, it will eventually work for you. Most people, it takes 5 years. The average person uses a dating app for between 7 and 10 hours a week. That equates to over 300 hours a year. And if you take the lowest amount of minimum wage in this country, that equals $60,000 over 5 years that you spent just wasting your time. Not even the cost of the date, the cost of getting ready for the date could add up to over $100,000. And that's based on minimum wage. Okay. So with a matchmaker, they are getting to know you. So you just described how do I know who a person really is? So what a typical matchmaker does is they get to know everything about you. We know more about our clients than their therapists know about us, because for us to do our job, we need to know your deepest fears, your insecurities, why our last relationship didn't work. We need to understand how you self-reflect. Do you have limiting beliefs? People won't date me because I'm a mom. People won't date me because I'm divorced. People won't date me because I'm large, I'm tall, I'm this, I'm that. We need to know everything about you. We also need to work on you. Everyone is a work in progress. Every single person on the planet is a work in progress. Once you embrace that and figure out what some of your own insecurities are, how you project, how you come across, we can all work and be better versions of ourselves so that we're ready to embrace someone else. We're ready to accept someone else into our lives. So the matchmaker actually spends multiple hours getting to understand your personality, what makes you tick. And they're looking for the X factor. You mentioned, what is this spark? The spark is called the X factor. And it's why dating apps don't work, because it's not just a checklist of things and how physically attractive you are to the other person. It's the X factor. Matchmakers who are good really get to understand your personality. And when two personalities connect, they will then vet for personality connection on top of all of your physical requirements, values, goals, beliefs, life stages. Do you want kids? Any deal breakers, drug addiction, smoking, alcoholism, whatever it may be, all of those things. And they literally go on dates for you. They pre-date, they vet, they screen these candidates multiple times and background check them, sometimes credit check them. And then they'll come to you and say, hey, Sarah, we just spent the last week vetting all these guys. We actually found 3 potential suitors for you. Let me tell you about David, Ben, and Michael. And then our matchmaker will get on a phone call with you and say, I met David, Ben, and Michael on a video call. Maybe we met in person. Let me tell you about them and why I think they're a good fit for you. And they will convince you. They will influence you. They will tell you why they truly believe that they are good matches. And then it's up to you to decide, should I meet them? Should I not? Should I meet them? Should I not? If a matchmaker has strong conviction, hopefully they do their work well, and they get you to go on the dates. Why it's important to go on these matchmaker dates is because, unlike a dating app, we collect post-date feedback on every single one of our dates. We know exactly why two people connected and want to see each other again or did not. So after doing this at 3 Day Rule, which is the company that I run, for 15 years, we have over 20,000 matches for yes, yes, compatible matches. Then we have matches where one party says yes, one party says no, and then two parties say no. We have all of this data, and we built our AI matchmaking app based on real data from tens of thousands of actual real dates that no dating app can touch because they don't collect that information. And that's just one of the reasons why matchmaking and a matchmaking app can be so much more successful, and why I think millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, and Gen Zers are really interested in what is this matchmaking? It feels curated, it feels affordable now, and it actually really, truly does work.
I totally think it can work. The struggles that I've run into as someone who has experienced matchmaking, not being the client, but being the potential match for a client. And this was with 3 Day Rule, but years ago. And I'm sure things have changed since then. Was one, they used to send just the information, no picture, which was an immediate no from me. And two, the only way forward was to get on a call again when you haven't seen a picture. And so the position it put me in is the matchmaker at the end of the day is representing their client, and they're optimizing for what the client wants. But they're not thinking about, well, does what the client want them? Like, is that realistic? Because of course, every client wants a hot bombshell, who's entered the villa, whatever it is. But like, if your client is a Shrek, it's unrealistic to try to get these hot bombshells to match. So only a good matchmaker can find a way to work with the client to be like, look, I hear you, but we need to try these things as well, because you never know what you'll uncover. There's like a nice, gentle way to put it. And the other thing is just this idea that like, if you're a successful, high quality, quote unquote, person, for you to get on a call with a matchmaker for maybe the chance to date their client who you don't even know if you like, a lot of people who, have little time will probably turn away from that. So then the people who end up being more open to it, there's usually there's a reason that happens,
Well, I will say this: 3 Day Rule is not a blind matchmaking company, so we will always do a photo with a bio of a person. So that will never. There are other matchmaking companies that don't do this, but so we are not a blind matchmaking company. So I 100% agree with you. You want to get a visual of who this person is, and you also want a really good description of who they are. If they've signed up, any candidate that has signed up to a company like 3 Day Rule, 9 times out of 10, they've already been vetted before they meet another client. So they've already gone through extensive vetting, probably background check, probably a credit check. At least at our company, we do very extensive vetting. We also have a huge network of recruiters across the country. So in addition to our gigantic database and partners across the country, we also have people that are sitting at airports for 10 hours a day waiting to find singles and striking up conversations with singles, and then telling the single, hey, I have a client that's perfect for you. If you're single, here's my card. Just like the movie Materialist. We do this across the country. We're at Art Basel, Formula One. We're at yacht shows. We're at Equinox Gym. We're at your local airports. We are everywhere because we go really way beyond what most matchmakers do to find the most compatible person for you. I do think that if you are investing money, you are putting money where your mouth is. You have skin in the game. I also think that from a candidate perspective, or the match that you're referencing, companies like 3 Day Rule, we have so many clients. Many of our matches are client to client matches. So if there's a good match, we will definitely start there first. But anyone in our database is not a random person that we found on the street. At 3 Day Rule, they've already been vetted, and no one's going to join a matchmaking database network and answer 35 questions and be vetted unless they are high intent. So I will say that it doesn't even compare to a dating app. People here, whether you're the client and paying or you're the candidate and signed up for free, you are high intent. You've gone through a grueling process to get to this point. You want to be in a relationship in some way, shape, or form. And that's what we've seen. And so that's why a lot of the time when we send out these client profiles to potential candidates, we get responses very quickly because this is real. These clients want to date, you want to date. And so most of our database, most of our network is very actively single. And so when they're not, we take them out of the database. We don't need to be matching them. We don't have to see them anymore there if they are in relationships. So we keep our database very fresh, and we make sure that we go the extra mile for recruiting, because it's not okay just to find people that check off boxes. We have to find the personality compatibility. And the only way we know that is to go through extensive vetting of multiple people for every single client.
What did you make of that movie, The Materialists?
You know, some things I really enjoyed about the movie. I think that, a company like 3-Day Rule, we have 75 matchmakers from across the country of all walks of life. And so one of the reasons why we are so successful is because we match you not only with great candidates, we match you with a matchmaker really well. We give you a coach that's, very compatible to you, and a recruiter that's compatible. We give you a whole team of people that are ready. In the movie, the main character and in the office, they celebrate the wins of their clients. They're so excited about the marriages and the births and the engagements. 3-Day Rule, every single Monday at 10:30 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, we all get on a company call, 75 people, actually more at this point, and we talk about the wins of the week. What clients have gone on first dates, second dates, third dates, engagements, proposals, marriages, children. We get so excited. People that work here, this is a labor of love. I will tell you, at this company, very difficult to get a job at 3-Day Rule as a matchmaker or a coach. People love what they do. They live and they breathe matchmaking. And so that part of the movie was very accurate. The extensive vetting, whether it's in a coffee shop or on a Zoom call, we do this all the time because we need to make sure we understand truly who the person is. I will say, in the movie, what seemed like an everyday occurrence was the sexual assault situation that happened in the movie. That is extremely rare, at least for a company like 3-Day Rule, because you've been vetted so often by multiple matchmakers before you even went on a date. We haven't seen that happen at our company. And of course, it can happen. It can happen on a dating app. It's much more probable that these sexual harassment situations will take place because of a dating app. Since there's very little verification, anyone can sign up. There's no really great way to report an assault on these apps. To get someone off is difficult. They can rejoin with another number. They can rejoin a different app. It's much more of the wild, wild west. So I think especially for women who really want to know that who they're dating, that they're safe, that they feel secure, matchmaking is 100% the way to go. And it's also not a waste of time.
My issue with the movie, it was at the very end. So if you haven't seen this movie, this is going to be a spoiler, just warning you, skip ahead. But here's my issue as a single woman. You've got this damsel in distress, who's very gorgeous and successful as a matchmaker, but she herself can't find anybody. And she found the man of her dreams who's a millionaire and perfect and everything she wanted. But she ends up, coming back to her starving artist, early relationship that she loved. And it just does not seem real, because I really believe, and this comes from, the Talmud and the Torah, that the things that have to be shared in order for a relationship to work are basically three things. And Rabbi Minnis Friedman always talks about this because he's also big on dating and relationships and marriages. Three things. One, your philosophy on money. Two, some kind of shared lifestyle, right? There has to be a Venn diagram there. If you're a club rat and they're going to bed at 8 p.m., it's not going to work. And then three, of course, shared values, a shared philosophy on how the world works or ought to work. And if one of those three things is broken, a relationship will likely fail. And so what I didn't like about the movie is ultimately the matchmaker, in order to end up with her high school sweetheart or whoever he was, her early boyfriend that was a starving artist, she made this concession that was like, well, I wanted to live this life and I worked so hard for it, but it actually didn't matter. I'll live in a shitty Brooklyn walk up with his 10 roommates because I love him that much. And I think that's great for a rom-com, but that's just not real, because this problem and this difference of opinion will arise in every big milestone, and how you get engaged and how you get married and how you have children. And it's not shallow of her to believe that she needs a partner who can provide a lifestyle that she aspires for. It's actually pragmatic of her. And I didn't like how the movie ended on that note with the stupid flower engagement ring because he can't afford a ring. Like, come on, you know?
You know what? Here's the thing. These movies, the choice was binary. It's a this or it's this. The whole point of using a matchmaker is not to have to make that choice. Matchmakers, their job is to go and to find you the hot but wealthy, ambitious person that has all those things for you and also helps you realize that maybe you are prioritizing something that's superficial or not really required in relationships. This guy needs to have blonde hair. Why? Because that's attractive to you. But you can also be attracted to someone that has brown hair or that's 1 inch shorter. This is, some of the things in the movie were very true. Women, they're the most 3 important things that are important to women, from a man perspective in a heterosexual relationship: income, family values, and height. So women in general, at least in North America, are hung up on this height. And if the man is below 5'10", something about him is wrong. I don't know why it is that way. I can tell you from a matchmaking standpoint, this happens 9 times out of 10. The woman, he's got to be 5'10" or above. He's got to be 5'10" or above. Guys who are 5'9" and below know they're 5'9" and below. And believe me, they try way harder. And that 1 inch in height, they make up for in a million other ways. So to all the women out there who are 5'10" and above, try a 5'8", try a 5'9". You think it's going to look weird in a photo? I bet you, because I've been doing this for 20 years, you're passing up incredible people. You probably passed up your Prince Charming because he was 5'8", not 5'10". It doesn't matter. That is called compatibility in so many ways. And also a lot of Jewish people, we're not 6 foot and above. We might be 5'8" to 5'10". So don't throw someone away just because they don't fit the ideal of what you wanted. There are things you need to flex on. And for women, height is one of those things. In the movie, it's really important to understand that I believe she ended up with this guy. This guy was trying to woo her, right? This wealthy guy. She was not really interested. He played hard to get, and she liked that. She liked being pursued. And women often like being pursued. I don't ever think she liked him at all, but I think she liked the idea that he liked her. And so she went with that. And he was a good distraction for her. In the end, it's not only that she fell in love with a starving artist who's drop dead gorgeous, but he actually was a very ambitious character. He had dreams, he had goals, he wanted to do certain things, and he was asking for help. And a lot of men in that situation wouldn't. He wasn't saying, I knew everything. He was saying, can you help me? What resources do you have? How can we work together? And by the end of the movie, they were thinking about their lives together and growing together. And I think a lot of people overlook that and think about just the starving artist. But this guy wanted to open up his own, I can't remember what he a chef or something, but he was a whatever, but he wanted to do something on his own. He was an entrepreneur. Those are the hardest things to do. And sometimes you fail 3 times before you become successful. Having a support system is really important to you. So if you have someone who's ambitious, of course, you need to have some stability in the relationship. And so maybe that is not your kind of guy. But in the movie, he always was striking me as someone who was very ambitious, but just not misguided. He spent too much time doing the wrong thing, but directed into another way. He could have been a very successful entrepreneur. I like to believe that at the end of this relationship, or 10 years later, he has his own business. He is very successful, and she has her own matchmaking company, and they did this together. She helped him realize how he was stuck, and he helped her in other ways as well. So that's what a true relationship's all about. It's going through the easy times are easy. It's the hard times, going through hard times with people. When they stick around, those are lovers, those are nurturers, those are supporters, and those are hard to find.
That's a very kind and generous way to explain what I explained so coldly. I just it also bothered me that she had to date potential, what woman has to date potential? How dare you guys make Dakota Johnson date potential? That was the other thing that was kind of tripping me up. But I do think ultimately you're right. And that's why it's a movie, right? It's not quite real and it's not quite perfect or, logical. And everyone sees ultimately what they want to see out of that show. I saw the girl that had to settle and you saw a partnership, right? And that is also
I saw loyalty.
telling.
I saw a
Yeah,
guy who was willing to do whatever. At the end of the movie, he said he'll do whatever he needs to do to make sure she's happy. And he was loyal to her and
I
he was
don't buy
okay
that.
with her being
But
with
you're
other
right.
if it made her happy to be with someone else, he said, I will always be in love with you and I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure that you're happy and supported. And he said that at the end of the movie. And, love is love. Love is probably not enough. In the real world, love is great. You need to have it, but you can't just have love. You need to also have get your bills paid. You need the values in check. You need all that stuff too. And I do look at young people. When you're 25, most people aren't millionaires. Most people don't have the setup yet. But if you have a good education, if you have a good friendship network, if you have good parents, if you live and you're paying your rent, you have these good qualities and you are in essence dating the potential to be something huge. And sometimes you need to roll the dice. But if they have 9 things that you love and one that you don't, work with them and help them grow. Don't change them, but help them realize who they can become. It's different from changing. It's realizing what a full potential person is.
Do you think, like, within the dating app and matchmaking paradigm, there are metrics that you guys track that actually don't matter for long-term relationship success? Like anything you obsess over that really, like, when you take a step back, it doesn't matter so much?
For long-term relationship success, look, I think that we come across a lot of clients when they're paying this type of money on the white glove service that we offer. They come in oftentimes, mostly women, but not only women. They're very particular. I know exactly what I'm looking for. You just have to find it for me. And it's just, 10 things that are physical, 10 things that are emotional, and probably half of those things are really requirements and half of those are nice to haves. And I think oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, we get hung up on things that are nice to haves. And I think that the nice to haves feel like requirements, but they're not. Even religion, I know in the Jewish religion and in so many cultures and religions, making sure that they're Italian like me or Greek like me or Asian like me or Black like me or Jewish like me, that's core. And I think when you start to really date people and when you start to become a little bit older and more sophisticated, that is important. But you understand that you can adopt someone else's culture and someone else can adopt your culture as well. It's not for everyone. And I'm not saying if that's the most core value to you, do what is most important to you. But flexing a little bit and just dating a different kind of a person. I've had clients who said, I've only dated, models, men. I've only dated models and I only want to date a model because they have to be physically X, Y, and Z. But what about who the person actually is? What about if she wasn't as skinny or as tall, but she was such a personality match and she really was would be a great Jewish mother and had those values, really cared about education and wanted a big family. You like all those things. You know what? What do you have to lose? If it's a good person, if they've been vetted, roll the dice, take a risk. In the worst situation, you don't find your person. In the best situation, you find your person. So all to the women out there who won't date the 5'8" guy because he's too short and she doesn't want her kids to be short, date him. Go on a date with him. If in the best case scenario, this could be your person, the most amazing person, or you could go hunt for another 10 years and find someone who's 6 foot but mediocre in other ways. You don't want to make the trade-offs where it doesn't matter, where it doesn't count. 1 inch in height does not count.
I actually fully agree with that up until I think my height, which is a 5'4" stature. Because I don't know. I always joked when I was on a dating show years ago, and I always joked, I don't want to see eye to eye with the man. Like I don't want to see eye to eye. But I actually think that is really important. And I do find that shorter men put so much more effort and
They
energy
do.
and enthusiasm into
Yes.
dates that it's so appreciates a breath of fresh air because they know they have to they have to compete on another element. And I really kudos to our petite princess. We love you.
By the way,
Yeah.
I just want to say, in terms of the shorter men, they are at such a deficit because on these apps, women just don't even see them. They're just filtered out. So all these 5'7" guys, half of them don't get shown, and half of them say they're 5'10" and they go on dates, and she thinks that you lied and you did. So it's sort of this, this vicious cycle when I'm telling you that these guys are so amazing. And I know you want to see eye to eye physically, but maybe you'll see eye to eye emotionally and from a value standpoint, from a goal standpoint, have great kids. The inches don't matter. And at some point they matter, but that's a whole other conversation. But in height, they don't. And short guys know they're short and try harder. I promise you, for the women out there who are single, do yourself a favor and in the new year, date someone that's 1 or 2 inches shorter. Allow your algorithm to go a little bit lower and see what happens. The world won't end. You'll go on a couple of great dates and maybe you'll find your person.
I love that. Throughout this episode, you sprinkled a ton of important and amazing dating and relationships advice. Do you have any message for the Jewish people?
Yes. For the Jewish people out there and for the non-Jewish people out there, I think this is universal truth. The grass is greener where you water it. I have known so many people that are running from relationship to relationship to relationship. And so many of these apps make it feel like if there's one thing wrong about the person, you have a million other people to choose from, so it doesn't even matter. That's actually not the case. And let me tell you that finding a person is actually the easy part. Staying in love with the person is way more difficult. So you cannot run away from conflict. If this person is amazing and you disagree, that is called a relationship. You are going to disagree. And sometimes you need to break it all the way down to rebuild a new branch in your relationship. And that is very normal and very common. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable because that's what relationships are. If it feels like bliss 24/7, there's probably something wrong. Someone's using someone for something in that relationship. But I will tell you, you've got to water relationships. You have to nurture relationships. What I like to do, I have two, big tips out there. One is called a love stone, and I don't have one right now, so I'm just going to use this as my love stone. But for people that are in relationships, I always ask them to carry a stone in their pocket. And sometimes when you're in an argument, it takes a left turn and it gets really heated really quick. And when you have a love stone, when you're yelling at each other and you're realizing this is going off the rails, you take your stone, you put it on your table, and the conversation is over. You stop talking about that because it's not about winning the conversation. It's about connecting and realizing what's more important, winning the conversation or the person in front of you. And sometimes changing the mental mindset, changing the scene that you're in with the love stone does just that. Again, it's not about winning the argument. You may be right. It doesn't matter. Do you really love this person? Do you care about this person? Let them share their opinion, agree to disagree, and move on. It's not worth it. Some of these fights are about such irrelevant subject matters, and you're a lawyer, she's a lawyer, you're going to argue. Don't do it. It is not worth it. But understand that getting into a relationship is a lot of work, a lot of communication. My second tip outside of my love stone tip is set yourself up for weekly check-ins. I like to do this on the Sunday. What happened in your week? What was good in your week that you really enjoyed? What's something that you could have done better for yourself and in the relationship? I wasn't physically present. I was not emotionally present. I remember snapping at you on Wednesday because I took some of my work trauma or drama and brought it into the household. So do the 1 week check-ins. It doesn't have to be for an hour. Could be, for 10 minutes. Let the person tell you what they could have done better for you in that week. Let them know where they are mentally in that week. It's really important to have these open lines of communication. And if you don't do this, what happens is resentment festers and that leads to divorce. So even if it's a hard subject matter, I just want to address this with you, Sarah. You called me an idiot. And it just stayed with me the whole day. You just called me an idiot. I know you probably even remember calling me an idiot, but you did. And I felt so horrible. And I just wanted you to know that I felt bad. And I don't know where that was coming from. Let the person explain what happened and let the person apologize because sometimes you don't remember the stupid things you do and you say. And it's really important to do these weekly check-ins. Life goes so quickly and you need to understand and prioritize your people. And that person is your person. So spend the time on them. Let them spend the time with you. 10 minutes a week is nothing. And just do a quick check-in.
Adam, if I ever date a man at this rate, I'm making sure he is vetted by you personally.
Let's go.
Whoever it is, they have to pass the Adam background check.
I'm there for you. And by the way, our company's there for all of your listeners, whether they want their own matchmaker or they want to join our network for free or the app. By the way, the app is free to download. And I just want to mention how this app actually works. So we developed a voice-enabled AI. And the difference is you join the app and the app talks to you and it adopts a personality that is complementary to your own personality. And it starts asking you these long form questions. Well, it asks different questions to different people. So based on how you answer a question, it will ask you the next preceding question until it has about 150 different answers from you. While it's collecting information from you, it's also creating an automatic bio for you that you can either edit, you can approve, you can disapprove, but we're doing all the work for you. We just want to have these intimate conversations. Now, as we ask you these questions and you're giving us responses, the AI is listening to your tonality. You mentioned earlier, someone should understand my tone and their tone. The matchmaking AI is listening to how you say what you say. And if it detects a change in your tonality, whether the pitch is going up or down at the end of a response, it might indicate that you're not telling us the full truth. Well, here's the problem. If you're a matchmaker and your client's not giving you the full truth, it's going to be very difficult to match you. So the AI matchmaker was designed with a lie detector inside. So if the AI senses that you're not giving us the full truth, it's going to ask you that same question in two other ways in order to get a consistent response from you. Then it will have conversations with other people on the app for you and then bring you back specific one-to-one embedded matches and tell you why David is the perfect match for you, gives you a photo of him and a bio of him. And then you'll say, I'm not so interested in David because he's 5'7". And then the AI matchmaker is going to come back to you and say, I understand that that's a strong preference of yours, but he meets your requirements on every single other level. He's worth a conversation. And then once you say yes, he says yes, it puts you into an automatic chat and helps to facilitate the dialogue. So in the conversation between you and between David, it will say, hey, Sarah, tell me or tell David what you told us about X, Y, and Z because we know so much about you. So it's vetting one-to-one compatibility, but then we also want the conversation to continue. So we're going to pull out some of the things that you told us, the matchmaker, the AI matchmaker. And then finally in the app, we also have an AI coach. There's a date coach, which you can ask all of your dating relationship questions to outside of the matchmaker. So if you want that full AI matchmaker and coach experience with voice, you've got to download the 3-Day Rule app. It really works.
What an exciting experiment. I mean, if this works, it could be huge. And it makes dating so much more affordable for the average person to have some experience of the magic of matchmaking through this. I'm really excited. I want to try it just out of curiosity because I think it's a fascinating experiment and you guys are fast adopters on the AI front. So I hope you're successful. Thank you so much for the conversation. I have one final question for you that I ask every guest. Who would you like to nominate for People Do You Want to Know?
Ooh. Who do I want to nominate? Oh my God. Did you interview Rabbi Walpe yet? How about him?
No, who's that?
Rabbi Walpe was the rabbi who married me. He's also the head of the conservative movement in California. He has his own podcast, books, radio show. He was a visiting professor at Harvard University. And he's up to the up on anything dating, relationship, Jewish people wise. And he's an awesome guest.
That is amazing. Thank you so much.
You got it. Well, thank you so much for having me.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and rate us 5 stars. Be the first to hear our episodes by subscribing to People Do You Want to Know wherever you get your podcasts. And for exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at People Do You Want to Know.